could itself become the captive of a scientific, technological elite. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
This has been an Infowars.com report.
Finally, it's key to understand that this is about sending the military out to round people up using full data integration into basically tablets they have, and having the military feed that info back during Civil War. It's roundup information. And of course, the Watson computers of IBM are also running the death panels on the don't treat list for the military. This is the beginning of phasing humans out and the rise of the machines. It's on Hillary's plan to stuff the ballot boxes, the open borders, TPP, and more. John Bound has a key report up on Infowars.com showing how they're planning to try to ram the TPP back through this week. Here's some of the headlines on Infowars.com that are so incredibly important. We're going to be covering coming up at the bottom of the hour. Pope calls for global authority to impose climate change agenda. Banks demand customers account for every deposit and withdrawal before offering mortgages. So it's basically indentured servitude, IRS reporting on everything you do for the right to engage in commerce. They're just getting you ready for the total grid. Meanwhile, taxpayers foot the bill for $128,000+ for Michelle Obama's sightseeing trip to Venice, Italy. Must be nice. Obama pushes internet ID verification in response to NSA hacking. Very important article. Ron Paul's article, Death Penalty, the Ultimate Corrupt Big Government Program. And, you know, I said I'd get to this last hour, and I just ran out of time. But sometime today, if not, I'll do a special report. I meant to do this yesterday. I've got a whole bunch of examples here of innocent people. What made me think of this is, I guess last Friday I saw this article. Cruz poll push for ban on indefinite detention of U.S. citizens. So I'll try to cover this now in the time we have. And they're talking about citizens being grabbed overseas and then being put in black sites. And that's dangerous because then it sets the precedent for it to happen here, and they can also make people give false confessions. I mean, obviously, you don't do bad things and then keep the moral authority. So I agree with what they're doing. And the fact that the media acts like it's so alien and bad shows how twisted things are. But just a couple articles that I've seen lately, and there's a newscast I want to air dealing with this, with Khalif Browder, 93 to 2015, no criminal record, in New York. Police claimed he was a suspect in a backpack that was stolen, and he spent 3 years on Rikers Island. I mean, that's rough. Without being convicted of a crime, was beat up over and over again on video by jail guards and by the criminals because he wasn't aggressive. And the newscast just shows all the surveillance footage of him doing nothing, being beaten and choked by guards, being beaten by the inmates, and basically the guards kind of halfway letting him do it. And that's how it works in these corrupt prisons. Not all prisons have a criminal acumen, a criminal spirit. Kind of like police departments, they're either pretty much good or they're pretty much bad. There's not really a lot of in-between historically. Things go bad, they go good. It's a culture. And he finally got out, and he just committed suicide. Now his family's suing. He's a black man. Was a black man. He's dead. But, I mean, how did he end up 3 years in a prison without ever having a trial? Well, that's how they do it now in America. Remember this story? I'm just using some that are well-known. Man left in solitary confinement for 2 years. Stephen Slevin was held for 22 months on a DWI. No judge, no jury. In a New Mexico jail. He was forced to pull out his tooth because it was infected. They never let him out. They just kept him there. No No one knew where he went. They thought he disappeared. They just kidnapped him. They had to pay a $15 million plus settlement, $15.5 mil. And now the family of Khalif Broder has got a $14 million lawsuit. I guess that's the going rate on people being put in dungeons. Anybody could disappear. Phyllis Schlafly is our guest for the next 25 minutes. She's the founder of the Eagle Forum, eagleforum.org. She is undoubtedly the greatest libertarian, constitutionalist, conservative woman living. And if you want to know where the Tea Party that we see today came from, i.e. real conservatives, not John Boehner type rhinos, it came from Barry Goldwater and Phyllis Schlafly. I mean, she predates Ron Paul as a national figure by about 25, 30 years. And she is, of course, a constitutional lawyer as well, a true example of a powerful, intelligent woman defending our republic, strengthening our families. I mean, I don't like to get up here and grovel to our guest, but as I get older, I really begin to realize how amazing people are. People I've already appreciated, but the fact that we should appreciate them even more. I mean, she's well-to-do, successful woman. She's a grandmother, you name it. She doesn't need, since she's been fighting for freedom since she was 20 years old, to be coming on the show or doing scores of interviews every week. But she does, just like Charlton Heston did before he died, because she cares about freedom so much. So she's a modern hero. She deserves to be a Time Magazine Person of the Year, not eugenicist, globalist, pro-death Margaret Sanger. So she's a true icon. Eagleforum.org. I won't go over all the work she's done, the best-selling book she's written, but she joins us now to give us her state-of-the-world breakdown, the open borders, the TPP, Hillary's plan to get in, saying if you're not for her, you're not for women, vote for the grandma. Truly sickening when all they've done is disempower women. Look at the numbers. And she's got a detailed report that was out in WorldNet Daily last week, Hillary's plans to stuff the ballot box. So Phyllis Schlafly joins us. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hi, Alex. Always good to join you.
It's great to have you.
Thanks for all those kind words you said about me.
Well, it's all true, so it's no brag, just fact. What do you want to tackle first?
Well, the hottest thing in Washington now is this trade deal. And a lot of people are misled about it, but I think it's about the worst piece of legislation that I've ever seen, because it gives away so much of our sovereignty. And we're very proud that we are a sovereign, independent nation that's built a land of freedom and prosperity. And the idea that Congress should give away some of its sovereignty to a bunch of globalist busybodies is just outrageous. And it was all negotiated practically in a closet in a little room with Obama and a few foreigners. And we know what a lousy negotiator he is. And we got the short side of the stick.
Yeah, I mean, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, there would be probably indictments happening. This would be called treason, trying to secretly sign us over to foreign corporate boards. Now, people like Ryan and Boehner and others parade around promoting it like it's a good thing.
I'm afraid there's money involved. I can't prove it, but, when things are happening that make no sense, it's probably a case of some money changing hands. But in any event, what they're doing is very bad. And the one who's really been speaking out and telling the truth about it is Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions. And he is a real patriot. And you ought to read everything that he writes on this, because he is showing that this thing called free trade, which has to have, I think, 4 different votes in order to lock it in, is just a giveaway of our sovereignty. It's giving these global busybodies control over our trade, our immigration, everything you can think of, and it allows them to change it after they finish it. In other words, if Congress passes it, these globalist busybodies can change it because they call it a living document. And you remember when some of these off-the-wall Supreme Court justices talked about a living constitution. That was just a code word for saying that they could rewrite it according to their own up-to-date ideas and personal preferences. And we think if Congress passes a law, it ought to be obeyed unless it's revoked or reversed. And the Constitution is the supreme law of our land. And we don't want these global busybodies controlling our trade, our commerce, our immigration, and then bringing other countries like China into the deal.
Phyllis Schlafly, eagleforum.org, couldn't be a more paleo-conservative organization out there, just defending the basic ideas that founded this country. We see an upside-down world push where they act like we're the traitors because we don't want a secret treaty. But WikiLeaks has leaked 3 sections, as you know, and Senator Sessions has seen even more. And it gets rid of the borders. It gives the president dictatorial power across the board. It censors the internet and free speech. It puts foreign boards over our businesses. I mean, I can't believe Congress, as corrupt as they are, would even consider signing on. But here's my next question. There's always got to be a bottom. And was last Friday the bottom, or at least the inklings of a bottom, where they go so far that even the establishment, part of the establishment, can't go along with it? Because there's got to be some end to the arrogance, some end to the craziness. Federal court striking down Obama, just opening the borders up. He's still doing it, but at least courts have said he can't. I mean, there seems to be just one of the biggest constitutional crises we've ever seen, not just in our lifetimes, but in the 240-year history of this nation.
I agree with you. I agree with all of that. And it's so shocking. It's just so awesome. You can hardly believe what they are doing. And they're conspired in by both Republicans and Democrats. Some of each kind are to blame because they're ballyhooed by these lobbyists for the big companies who really want our immigration increase so they get the cheap labor. I think that's what's at the bottom of a lot of it. And then the people who've been trying to give us globalists. I spent a year of my life fighting one of the George Bushes, I get them mixed up, who wanted to put us in a North American Union. We don't want to be in a union with Mexico and Canada. We didn't like that idea, and we did beat him on that. But now they're coming back in this bill that's before them right now, and in effect, as Senator Sessions says, it really puts us in some kind of a European Union. So they didn't dictate our laws. They just decided, these global busybodies, just a few weeks ago, that we have to repeal our COOL law. And our COOL law stands for country of origin. And I'd like to know where our meat is coming from before I buy it. And so would the American people. But the Congress has now said, oh, yes, these global busybodies have said we have to repeal it, so we repeal it. You can hardly believe they're doing this kind of thing.
Phyllis Schlafly's our guest. We're also on television, not just radio. We're showing footage. There's hundreds of these videos in France at the tunnel, at the ferries and the tunnel, where police basically on both sides are undermanned and ordered, it's come out, to stand down and let them get on the buses, get on the hijacked vehicles, and then they just basically let them through. When the police try to stop them, it becomes a human rights abuse claim, and they're, quote, allowed to migrate. Africa's collapsing. The Middle East is collapsing. Boats are sinking every week coming across to Italy, and the so-called left wants to allow this. Do they understand that there's 6+ billion people that want to come into the West, and then once they're given welfare, the socialists will have checkmate on political groups that'll vote to do whatever they want?
Well, I hope you've read Ann Coulter's book, Adios America, because she really tells it like it is, and how it will absolutely change America. And these people coming in, I'm glad to welcome people who want to be Americans, who want to speak English, who want to obey our laws and our Constitution. But these people coming in don't want to be Americans. They want to change us and make us like their country. And there's no other country like America.
I agree, but it's beyond that. The third world is unsustainable.